Hello and welcome to Crypto Interviews. My name is Claudio and this is CryptoShain, the channel where I do crypto news, reviews, tutorials and interviews. And today joining me once again is Schyler from Crypto Hippo, the YouTube channel. He's an Elliott Wave TA specialist and he loves to talk about crypto and altcoins, not only Bitcoin, because the majority of traders out there do only talk about Bitcoin. So that kind of sets Schyler apart in the sense that he does talk about altcoins, which is what people want to see too. When they're trading. So Schyler, welcome once again.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on the channel, man. I'm pretty excited to be diving into some of the topics that we had discussed earlier. So
definitely. And if you're interested to find out about Schyler, do check out our initial video. It should pop up on the top right hand corner. Yeah, basically, like I was saying, he's a specialist in Elliott Wave, and we're actually going to be talking about somebody's theory, another trader's theory, with regards to the Bitcoin price potentially dumping to $1,000 based on his Elliott Wave TA. So Schyler is basically going to break that down, and he's going to try and explain why he thinks that's not right, or if he has any kind of thing to add. So when do you think we could start?
Yeah, let's go ahead and dive into this.
Perfect. Let's go.
Okay, so it looks like the trader goes by on TradingView momentum, and I'm definitely not about bashing anybody by any means, but I do, from an Elliott Wave standpoint, I am a very in-depth Elliott Wave trader, and I'm very technical about it. And so with that being the case, there were some flaws that I saw in this, and the reason that we're talking about this one is because you had brought it up in one of your previous videos, and it's had a lot of activity around it too. So a lot of people have been looking at it, and if a lot of people are looking at it, it's good for things to have some, good accuracy to it. And two of the biggest things that stepped out to me in regards to an Elliott Wave standpoint here is that your C wave has always 5 waves in it. And so you would have to argue that this correction coming back down right now is actually impulsive and not corrective, or that it's a leading diagonal. Yeah. Of which none of those really fit this realm, since we've been breaking this down every day on Bitcoin since it started. And then the degree of your B wave as well is very impulsive and very parabolic. And you don't usually get a B wave that has a sharper degree than your A wave coming down. So your B waves are typically flat corrections, sideways corrections. They typically take a lot more time than just being vertical straight up. You would also have to argue that the B wave is only 3 waves inside of this move here, which when you break it down on a smaller time frame, it's very clear that it's a 5-wave structure. So with that being the case, the last thing that I would mention too is that the A wave can't have a complex structure inside of it, which means that it would have to be just a generic ABC correction, which would also invalidate this count as well in regards to this being an ABC. So just my thoughts on the current correction here in regards to, can it come down to $1,185 is very unlikely, given a lot of the other technical indicators as well in regards to this chart here that's also floating around. So although it had a lot of activity around it, I think that it is clearly invalidated giving just those 3 things without having to dive into the subwave counts of it even more in an in-depth analysis and really kind of tearing it apart.
Yeah, and also the support zone, right? I mean, how strong is the next support zone, to be honest? Because we've been around the 7,000 area for quite some time as well. Has that not formed like a strong support right now? So, for example, now we've got this pump to over 8,500. If we were to dump, would the support zone be around 7,000 or what? What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we basically created a good floor right here, given the past 6K support zone right here. And so that's created a good floor that we're basically back testing after breaking through it. That's very clear that you can see that in this larger scale chart here. And so coming back and back testing that right now is checking the confirmation of that floor and its validity. So breaking underneath it, the next floor would be this one down here where the start of our A wave is. And then I would, underneath that, then you could potentially be looking at another floor back here at the 3rd wave. But you've got a lot of room to come break before that happens, and it wouldn't. The smaller time frames are already going to tell you with this count wave right here that that's not possible, because you'd have to do it impulsively. So it would come down a lot more aggressive than what it is right now in order for this to be an accurate count that I'd actually be concerned about.
Right. And what's your opinion at the moment? Because everybody's really curious what's going to happen. Traders like Tone Vase, for example, are saying that until we break 9K, which is a strong resistance. We're not in bullish territory. So what's your take on that from an Elliott Wave perspective? And even if not from an Elliott Wave perspective, but just from a general TA perspective.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would agree with Tony that, we really don't have much to be worried about in regards to, unless we break the 9K range and so forth. But there are definitely some validation points that definitely need to get hit first. And I've actually done up a few charts. And one thing that I'm really big about is showing the validation and invalidation points to when one count is confirmed over the other, because you're always going to have multiple counts. You're always going to have a bull and a bear scenario. It's what makes the market go up and down. What's important is being able to recognize when one party, the bulls or the bears, takes the reins and moves to your target. So with that being said, I've actually done up 3 different scenarios here in my Discord channel here that I'd love to share with you if you're interested.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so the first one that we've got here is actually, I call this the fast track to the bull run, and this is us currently being in the potential of an extended third wave. So an extended third wave presents itself when we usually break a major resistance. So in this case here, breaking 9,091.50 would really spark this move pretty significantly, and things would move very fast. And that's why we get an extended third wave during that process. And basically, I've made little side notes here, but 9.7K is the extended first third wave. So for this move right here, that would be our validation point when we completely get confirmed that we're in an extended third wave.
Yeah.
There's one point right prior to that, which lies at 94.50. And at 94.50, we would actually make our first wave right here, the shortest wave. And therefore, it would invalidate it as a third wave, which I'll show you in the other count. And so that would actually be confirmation as well to us being in a bull run. So 94.50 getting broken, 9,700. Those are 2 critical numbers that says, hey guys, we're on a fast track upwards towards targets of about 11.2K to $12.4 thousand, and full confirmation above 10.3, which is our previous high. Breaking that would definitely give confirmation of a bull run as well. So those are the targets that I'm looking at and keeping my eyes on in regards to the fast scenario. So this is how the market could move quickly with an extended third wave, but it could also be bullish and still just move, normal, so to speak. And so I've got a chart to kind of represent that as well, which you can see right here in this one. So in this chart here, we've got ourselves a leading diagonal. And these typically fall out the bottom about 68% of the time, and they'll retrace back to wave 2 territory. That would put it roughly about $7,200, give or take, in there. And then we would be able to see continuation with an impulsive third wave.
So it could actually bounce off the support, right? The support that has formed earlier before we took off to over 8K.
Yeah, most definitely. I would be surprised if it didn't. If it just blew through it, that'd be very surprising to me. So with this chart here, basically, we pull back and we bounce off of that support zone, and we basically give confirmation to it that it is good support, and we continue and start our bull run. So this would be the other way that we can start our bull run too, and still break the previous high of 10.3K and give confirmation to that, but have it look like it's bearish too. So when we take a look at the bear count real quick, and this is the last one here because you've got 2 bull counts and you've got 1 bearish count. And so with the bearish count here, you've got an expanded ABC flat here, which the C wave can also be a diagonal. Now there's one big thing, and I mentioned it right here, and it's usually always the smallest things that give you the validation over one count over the other. And in this case here, if this is a C wave that's an ending diagonals can only work in subwaves of 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. So if anywhere in here we have an impulse wave instead, that would invalidate that. And you'd have to go in and look at that on a subwave breakdown. As of right now, we don't have confirmation of a 5 wave, so it's on the table and it's present. But the moment that something does turn into a 5 wave in there, you get your validation point. So this count here, again, 94.50. If we move up to hit 94.50, then this count gets invalidated and I go perma bull.
Wow, cool. So
does that make sense? So
it does. But what I'm more curious is in regards to probabilities, because we know that there's always the probability of this happening. If this happens, then that happens, right? But in terms of probability, what would you say is more likely? Could it be this case, like the bearish case, or the bullish case?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And the way that I like to look at it is which side has to put in more work to hit their validation target. And as of right now, in order to invalidate this bull scenario, the bears need to bring us down to right about, I got to pop over here because I can't see it very well on that one there. So we need to come down to 7,900 for the bears to get confirmation and break this purple trend line right here. So with that being the case, we got 7,900. We're currently at 87. So they've got what, about $800 that they've got to put in to bring it down. Whereas the bulls, on the other hand, if they move it past 91.50, that's going to get us a faster squeeze. But ultimately, 94.50 being the confirmation point. So we've got another 94.50 from 8,800 right now. You've got 650. So the bulls have the upper hand. The bulls also have 2 counts going for them. So in regards to, even if this diagonal here breaks out the bottom, this could still be a wave 1.
Yeah.
So, so the bulls have the upper hand here, to be honest with you. They have less work to put in to get it up to 94.50. And then the bears do to try and bring it back down right now.
Wow. Okay. So there could be this scenario too. We don't know for sure, right? But I mean, it just seems so bullish at the moment. But I think that the reason for this bullish sentiment is because we've got the upcoming halving as well in May. But it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to see a dump before the halving, right? Again, the sentiment is kind of different now, isn't it? We're just seeing like more whales manipulating the price whenever there's some news, like we had the news with CME futures, right? And this is the thing, right? But if you don't mind, could you please share a graph and just kind of give us your TA and your input on BSV? Because as you know, we've had this massive run up today, and I'm curious to get your input on that. The BSV community is going crazy. They're like, dump your Bitcoins because BSV is the way to go.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And makes you think that it's actually a pump and dump, to be honest. I mean, I had a look at the graph, not in detail, just on KuCoin, and to be honest, it looks to me like a pump and dump, but I could be wrong. So that's why I really want to get your expert advice on this.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'll take a look at it. I haven't looked at BSV. You brought it up, and some individuals in the Discord brought it up as well this morning, actually, because obviously, that catches people's attention with that right there.
Exactly.
In regards to a 4-hour time frame here, a couple things that I'm looking for is just some RSI divergence, just to help see if we've got any sort of a third or fifth wave imprinted from an Elliott Wave standpoint. I'm also going to take a look at it from a daily aspect too. And the reality is that we've put in higher highs on BSV right now. And so what that's telling me, at least, is that, and given the wave structure here, I'm looking at this, kind of going in and out in between time frames here.
We really broke the previous resistance, didn't we? I mean, look at that.
Yeah, this is what all-time, at least on this exchange for Bitfinex, given the data that I have to go off of.
It's the all-time high that was broken, wasn't it?
It might have been. But $265 is what I've got back here. I don't know if there's more data on BSV, if it's had a higher high or not, though. But given just the data that we're looking at right here, I would, from an Elliott Wave standpoint, I would argue that this is probably any sort of a wave 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and a 5, like that.
So
and
we could be revisiting $400 or even higher. It is likely, right? Because on Huobi it did go to 400 before it came back down. On KuCoin it only got to like 350. So yeah, I think.
Yeah, I got 350 on this one here too. Yeah. So yeah, pulling a couple of fib extensions too on this, and that's assuming that this is our first wave here. I'd have to go down and take a look at a subwave breakdown, but we did hit over the 1.618, which does tell me that it's an impulsive wave, so a wave 3 here, and that we'd be looking for. I definitely would expect a cool off. It looks like we got an extended fifth wave inside of the third wave, which tells me that the fifth wave probably won't be that big. This will probably pull back to the fourth wave of the third wave, which in all reality would be right back into this range right here at about $162.
Yeah.
And that seems pretty realistic too. I mean, when you get something that blows off that much steam there, for it to come back, that'd be a 50% retracement. That's not, by any means unrealistic. So
Yeah.
I do think that we might get one more push here, but I do expect a pretty big sell-off here, coming back down about 50% to about 160, let's see, $177, and revisiting back this support level here, which is also this previous high here. So I do imagine we will come back and revisit this support level back here. And then I'd be looking at that point in time, maybe to see if we could get another impulse move to the upside to finish off a fifth wave. So, but as of right now, there isn't any divergence on the 4 hour, even on the daily, which does give a bullish indication that we probably have not completed the wave cycle just yet.
Yeah. So with Elliott Wave, is it a similar pattern like with normal trading, in that, in the sense that we should be expecting a pullback of around 50% as a rule of thumb before we bounce back up, so that a person could actually make their entry? Or does it work different with Elliott Wave?
There's definitely a lot of different characteristics and guidelines to it. A 50% retracement is typical amongst any waves. However, each wave kind of has its own characteristics. So in regards to a fourth wave, to be honest, a fourth wave typically only comes back to 0.236 to 0.382, which suggests that maybe we only pull back to $275 to $216 and then get another move to the upside.
Yeah.
So, from an Elliott Wave standpoint, that would be what we're looking at. But because we got an extended fifth wave inside of the third wave, it's likely that we come back to a fourth wave, which suggests the 179 and also gives us the 50%. 50% retracement is just a typical retracement. It's actually not a Fibonacci number. So when paired up with Elliott Wave, it works, but it's technically not a Fib level.
Right, I see. And what's your opinion? Do you think it's been the actual market makers that pumped it, or could it be just bulls, just people like whales thinking that, okay, this is bullish? If we find out that the Craig Wright will actually show the private keys and he will unlock the Genesis wallet, then bow down to Satoshi.
That would be pretty interesting. So, and I think honestly, a lot of this hype is based off of news and speculation. I mean, that's the industry that we're in right now, is a speculative market. And so if anything, bullish comes out about this, and obviously BSV has its following, it has its tribe that believes in it. And so, those people are going to buy into it more too upon bullish news, if they think other people will invest into it as well. So I think it's all speculation at this point in time. I don't know if it's really attracting any whales. I don't think that whales are too interested in some of these assets, since they are so, high risk, but I could be wrong about that as well. So
yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, we had, if you want to pull up the Matic dollar chart as well, please, if you don't mind, we had a massive pump with Matic not too long ago to 4 cents, and it went like from around the 1.2 cents, 1.3 cents area all the way to 4.2 cents before it took a big dump as well. So, I mean, it looked kind of similar to what's happening to BSV if you look at the chart, at least in my opinion, but I want to see what you think of that as well.
Yeah, this doesn't look very bullish in my eyes here. The way that this is setting up right now, to be honest with you, looks like we might get another move here to the upside, but then we're going to get a sell-off. So this here is just going to create a big flat correction, in my opinion. So that could look anything like, I'm going to go back here, coming across like this actually would be the first way for it to basically fill out here, and then getting a one-to-one extension of that move there. So this, to me, seems a lot more likely for Matic right now, which, given if you take a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart as well, it looks very bullish, like it can, like it's going to attract a lot of the money over into Bitcoin here, especially if Bitcoin decides to break, 94.50 and go into a bull run. Obviously, people are going to be running over into Bitcoin first to capitalize on that, because altcoins are famous for following Bitcoin, but they drag behind it. So right, Bitcoin goes on the rally first.
Big time.
And then,
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree with you. And that's what we're seeing happening as well. And then with the news, I mean, with Matic, we could expect some bullish news anytime now with the Coinbase listing, because they did announce it in August last year and we haven't heard back. Ontology too, it's also on that list for Coinbase listings. Which other one? Waves, okay. Ontology, Matic, and Harmony. So there's a number of them. I mean, and I think that these kind of news might help push up the price again, right? And then that might change the TA in that case, right? It all depends when it happens. It's all about timing as well, isn't it, I guess?
Yeah, definitely. And that's why you have multiple counts too. I mean, I could make a bullish argument for this as well, but I would say that that type of news and speculation would increase the price, but it could very well just be the formation of this wave in here too. So that move might look something like this, where it does pump up, but ultimately ends up coming back down. Or maybe we drop first and then that news comes out, and this pump here is what correlates to that news instead.
Yeah. And what I've noticed, I don't know if you've noticed this as well on Binance at least, all these different coins, like we've seen it mostly with the IEOs, they really go down, they really look bearish. It makes you think that it's going to continue to dump. It's in a stage 4 in trading terms, but it looks like it's just going to keep going down, and then it just suddenly takes off, just like BSV did, basically forming some extended green candles and some wide range bars, and then just keeps pumping, right? It breaks the previous day's high and it just keeps going. Do you not find that a bit odd? Do you think that could be related to manipulation? Because I just don't see that in stocks trading, at least because I do watch some stock trading videos. I don't normally see that kind of move.
Yeah, I definitely think with the low cap, the market cap on these altcoins, honestly, they're very easily manipulated and very easily pumped. It doesn't take a whole lot of money to do it either. With that being said, I mean, given the pattern that you talk about, I'd have to really go back and take a look at, kind of overlaying multiples of them and seeing what exactly you're kind of referencing in regards to it completely dumping too. Because from an Elliott Wave standpoint, I'd probably have a good justification as to why that move is happening.
Yeah, for example, if you look on that chart that you've got now in the August area, do you see that dump there? Like, that's an example of what I'm talking about. So it looks very bearish. If you couldn't see what's on the right, you'd think that, oh, this is just going to keep going down until it's going to get maybe to more than halfway down to the previous chart, the initial price rise, right? But then it just takes off. So we're seeing that with a lot of IEOs, that kind of pattern forming.
Okay, so the way that I would look at it from an Elliott Wave perspective here is I would see this move right here in the center as what's known as a flat correction. So this is basically going to take the previous price action here and is going to connect it to the downside. And you can just use a trend extension tool, and you can usually grab the bottom here and then the top here. And you usually target about a 1-to-1 extension, maybe a 1.236. But you can see here that the 1-to-1 is the red. So that would have gotten you pretty darn close to the bottom there to expect for a reversal. Yeah. And then the 1.236 would have been my next target, which you didn't hit that one, but you would have snagged the 1-to-1.
But personally, as a trader, normally by rule of thumb, it says that you need to wait for some confirmation. So when that reversal happens, you probably wouldn't enter straight away. But what would be the point that you would consider is a good entry point on that chart? If you could just zoom in a bit more, please, there, just so make it more visible. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I can see it now. So which would you consider personally? Would you consider the first pullback a good entry point? Like, we've got that massive run up and then the first pullback, which is more or less 50%, right? And then it takes off
on
again.
This one here?
Exactly. We've got the big one, and then we've got a pullback, which is about 50%. Yeah, that's the one there.
So that's a great question. So in regards to Elliott Wave and using Fibonacci in my trading style specifically, I do catch and play off of the trend extensions here. So the confirmations for me is where I might add to my position, but it's not where I actually entered the first trade at. But that's just my trading style. For those that might be waiting for confirmation, I would say that I'd want the previous high here broken. So on this candle here, when we closed above this previous high, that's probably a good confirmation entry. Yeah. But you're also running right into the 4-hour 200 EMA at that point in time too.
It's also risky, right? You could hit
it is resistance. Risky, Yep. So really, getting a candle open and close above the 200 is typical. Altcoins are going to be way different though. In fact, I would even argue to change up the EMAs in order to see what fits each asset individually better. Like, for example, if you look here at the daily 200 EMA, this thing would give you just horrible entries and exits, because it is basically going underneath it, back above it. It's almost acting like it's a median line rather than a good area of support or resistance. Yeah. So I would change these EMAs to actually reflect the data on this chart specifically. I wouldn't just follow the 200 EMA on everything. And that the same thing goes with Fibonacci too. So in just trading in general, each asset is going to have its own behavior and pattern that it likes to follow. So I don't use the same strategy on every single asset. So in regards to kind of looking at the confirmation of this, I would say breaking this previous high here and getting a candle close above the 200 daily EMA would be good signs. But obviously that moves so fast, you don't have a whole lot of time to think.
Yeah. And your stop loss would probably be around the point where it just started, right? Where the pump just started.
I'd probably put it back underneath the previous low, somewhere back in here. So if I was getting in right in this range here, I'd tuck it in underneath there. If I was getting in at the 1-to-1 here, I'd be looking to put my stop underneath the 1.382 down here.
Okay.
I'd be looking for another entry at or at least a bounce at the 1.236. Seeing this bounce where it did bounce at to, and would it'd be an interesting one to trade, so to speak. It gets a little choppy and a little aggressive right there. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So, but your best bet in this one for my style would have been the 1-to-1. That's where my entry would have been at. So
nice. Cool. Yeah, because a lot of people, especially people that don't actually trade on a day-to-day, they just usually wait for the red day, like a really red day to buy.
You like that one?
yeah, to buy in. Yeah. And then they just hodl. And then when it goes green, when you get a bullish day, they just sell, right? And they just repeat the cycle. Obviously not everybody's patient enough to wait for that, because like we get these really, really red days once in a while, I think every few months or so.
Mm-hmm.
And those are like the best times to enter, right? Not financial advice, but people enter, right? And then they get like overly excited on the next green day and they just sell. And then a few days later it really pumps, right? So they could pretty much make at least 50% on their gains, but a lot of them sell earlier. They sell like when they have like 5 to 10%, right? Because they get overexcited. So I think that's also part of the strategy, isn't it? To kind of learn how the cycle works. But again, the cycle doesn't always follow, right? I mean, it's very choppy in general.
Yeah, the altcoins definitely get they're a lot riskier, right? And they're a lot choppier as well. Yeah. And they honestly match up with their own Fibonacci guidelines in regards to Elliott Wave a lot differently too. Like they're a lot more aggressive. So expanded flats typically hit different extensions. Third waves are typically always overextended. So they follow completely different characteristics, I guess you could say, than Bitcoin's Elliott Wave. And so you just, whatever you're trading, as long as you build a relationship with it and get familiar with it, then you can become profitable, in my opinion. So
yeah. And as long as you understand what it's kind of doing, because like for example with Ontology, I've noticed that it just doesn't want to break below 50 cents. The lowest it's gone was 49. And it just pumped right back up. I think it's trading over 60 now. So I mean, it's just interesting to see like that kind of support that was forming around the 50 cents area, like really strong support. As soon as it goes under, it just takes off, right? And even in 2018, when I last looked at Ontology, it went down to 44 cents. And even that pumped, right? I mean, it doesn't stay under 50 cents for long. So it just makes you think, wow, how could the support be so strong around that specific area, right?
Yeah, it's obviously that's what the price that people like, and charts are just a reflection of our belief in those support zones. So obviously people like Ontology at 50 cents. That's just where they keep accumulating it at.
It seems to be, They just don't want to let it go lower than that. I don't know if it could be the foundation too or whoever holding the price at that, but yeah.
I think it's important too that you recognize that pattern. Like I said, every asset kind of has its own pattern that it follows. So if you pick up on those patterns and those characteristics, it makes it a lot more profitable to be able to trade it, because you probably have a much higher probability of being successful with Ontology if you're buying it under 50 cents. Patiently wait for
exactly. Or even at 50 cents, because I remember my 3x was actually made with Ontology between 2018 and 2019, because I just patiently waited and hodled around the 50 cents area, and then it went to over 150. But I mean, it just shows you, like, if you like you were saying earlier, if you understand that that's the support, again, you are kind of taking that risk as well, right? But you also believe in the long-term vision of the project too. So it's like kind of hodling, but not hodling for many years, just hodling until you get a nice enough profit to make an exit to make a re-entry later, right, on the pullback. And as we've seen, I mean, it went to nearly $2 and it came back down to 49 cents, right? So it just shows you, like, whatever goes up so high always comes back down. You just need to be patient, right?
Yeah, that's there's always that good famous saying that the market always pulls back. The market always comes back. So and sometimes that's the case, sometimes it's not, though, because if you're in a bull market and you're just, I mean, everybody, Bitcoin hasn't come back down to 30 cents for me yet. So
yeah, definitely. Even $10, man. Even $10. I think the amount of people that would be all over it would be unreal, honestly. Imagine like Bitcoin to $10. I think all the exchanges would just like cease trading or something, right? They'd suspend trading.
I don't know. I don't know if I trust Bitcoin at $10 anymore. I'd be like, you lost too much.
Imagine the olds. That would be the disaster.
Oh boy, I don't think they exist anymore.
Yeah, man.
So, well, cool. Well, I appreciate you having me on. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
No, that's it. Yeah, if we just switch back to the video there, let me just switch back as well. Cool. Yeah, no, thank you very much for that. I very much appreciate it. And again, all the links can be found in the description of the video. Of course, a link to Schyler, Crypto Hippo on YouTube. If you want to check him out, he does TA. I don't know if you do it every day now, but you do it every 2 or 3 days, right? You do some TA video.
I usually get it up every day. Sundays I take off, but yeah, I got my video up today and everything. So daily updates on it.
Nice one. And again, like I was saying, also altcoins, not just Bitcoin. So that is important. If you're also into altcoins. Right, thank you very much, Schyler, and I hope I'll see you very soon again, depending on what the price of Bitcoin does and how it goes, right? We're curious to find out how TA changes based on that.
Right, yeah, right. For sure. Thank you so much. You take care.
Cool. Thank you very much for watching as well. Don't forget to like the video. Take care. Bye-bye.